Yes, this video took 4 months to make. Yes, I'm a bit lazy, but does that matter? No. Today, I'm building the exterior of my main base, and I hope you enjoy. Firstly, I needed to construct a bamboo farm for fuel. I gathered up the materials and then built a small and compact one in one of my empty buildings. In my personal opinion, if you're a builder in Minecraft and you build a bunch of aesthetically pleasing buildings, you should fill them with farms so they can at least have some kind of practicality. Even though I don't think I'll be using this farm much in the exterior of the base, it's good to have a constant fuel source, and I'll need the bamboo blocks when I start building the interior. After finishing the farm, I took one last good look at the sunset before my beautiful exterior of the base will cover it up with its own beauty. For those who haven't watched Arcane, this is what the last drop looks like. And as you can see, I'm going to need a lot of bricks, a lot of mushrooms, and especially a lot of copper. Using some of the extra clay I gathered, I traded with the villagers for a few extra emeralds and some XP to go into my belt for later. Taking a look at the resources I already had, it was about time to start building. Looking at the original floor plan for the base, I knew I needed to go a little bit bigger. So starting out with only one layer of blocks, I built an outline to base the rest of the build off of. I took some of the oxidized copper I had laying around and scraped it down so I could use it to build the more sandy texture around the base. Taking a step back, I examined the door frame and decided that I actually really enjoyed the shape. I decided that the first thing I was going to work on was the front of the base just above the door. With constant looks back to the original reference image, I think I did a pretty good job capturing the feel. After a little bit of housekeeping and a little bit of building, I knew I had to get some amethyst shards, forcing me to brave the deep dark. I hate exploring the deep dark, but having no other option to get amethyst around my base, I had to just go through with it. After multiple attempts and losing a full set of gear, I finally found amethyst shards in my final chest. Back to building, I built a few copper pipes while the glass smelted, before finally building the window to the first office. Although not yet built, this window leads to the first office, where my bed will go, and where most of the necessities needed in a survival base will be located. I decided I didn't quite like how the brick part was looking, so I tore it down and restarted in order to make it a little bit bigger for both the exterior and interior. I wanted to give the brick part a bit of contrasting geometry because it's the only part of the build that isn't in the original reference image. In total, this build took 14 hours to both design and build, making it the biggest survival base I've ever built. Placing down random slabs and walls gives the build a unique texture, like the bricks are falling apart. The next thing on my to-do list was to gather frog lights for the front sign of the building. The temperate frogs produce a yellow frog light, which is useful in creating the warm, light tone I'm trying to get with this building. By the time I reached the basalt biome, only one frog was left alive, but that's all I need for the frog lights I require. Despite some troubles defending the frog, I managed to take it home, where he can live comfortably on my ship next to the armadillo. I returned to build the back of the base, out of tuff and mushrooms. Although the back won't be seen often, it is the most important part of the base, as it keeps the inside all together. I built up the back of the base until it reached the roof of the first office, connecting it over and creating the first bit of true shade. I then started work building the tower at the roof of the base. It adds width and it adds depth to the build that wouldn't be there if I didn't include it. I added a lot of deep slate texturing to the tower in order to give it depth, contrast, and so it has a more rounded look. I then finished the roof of the tower off and got back to work oxidizing more copper in order to build the green copper pipe sticking out the right side of the building. Thanks to the honey farm I built in episode 1, it was easy to wax and break all the copper I would need. I finished up building the wall so I could start work on the second office and window of the base. I built a small copper pipe to reinforce the window, before remembering that I had the frog lights to build the front sign of the base. Returning back to the second window, I built it with a more stripy and more angled look in order to add variation and contrast to the original and pre-existing window. Remembering that the top window of the base requires a minimum of 20 frog lights to actually work, I had to return to the nether and gather more frog lights, this time with a new frog. Returning to the base and finishing up the walls, all I had left to do now was the roof and the top window, along with a few details elsewhere. Using the tinted glass from earlier, I began work on the top window, before realizing I was once again out of amethysts. I then skipped to just placing all the frog lights down, before forcing myself to return to the deep dark and gather the last few amethyst shards I needed. Needing a beacon to complete the logo on my base, I flew over to my friend's base in order to purchase one from his shopping complex. The beacon costed 30 diamonds and it will be placed at the middle of the sign at the front of the base. Returning to my base, I placed the beacon down, acting as the final block of the exterior of this build. Taking a step back, I admired the build in its completion and got ready to build the interior next time.